Right, strap yourselves in because today we're diving deep into Islamic cosmology.
Ooh, sounds intense.
It is. We're talking about how interpretations of the Quran can offer a totally different perspective on the creation of the universe.
Right, and even like the very concept of time itself.
Exactly. And it's always fascinating to see how ancient texts can kind of intersect with modern science.
Definitely.
So, for this deep dive, we're going to be exploring this YouTube video. It's called Allah and the Cosmos Creation in 6 Days, Part 1.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one.
It's from the channel Beyond the Lote Tree.
Right. They always have some really interesting takes on things.
Yeah, and this one in particular is trying to bridge the gap between, well, scripture and these big scientific ideas
Like the Big Bang,
the
right?
Big Bang, exactly, and Einstein's theories of relativity.
Those are always mind-bending.
Oh, tell me about it. So the video kicks off by trying to connect the Big Bang to a specific verse in the Quran.
Oh, which one?
It's 21.30, and it describes the heavens and earth as being, get this, joined together initially, and then, ripped apart.
Whoa, like a cosmic explosion.
It's a powerful image, right?
Definitely. And it's interesting how the video highlights that, the language of the Quran
Yep.
kind of echoes this modern idea of the fabric of space.
It does.
But, we always have to remember that interpreting scripture can be, well, it can be pretty complex.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And there might be other ways to read this verse.
For sure, for sure. But how does this whole cosmic ripping apart idea then tie into the concept of time being relative?
Ooh, good question.
Because most of us, I think, just assume that time is a constant.
Yeah, like tick-tock, tick-tock.
Exactly. It just keeps marching on.
Well, that's how we experience it day to day.
Mm.
But Einstein's theories of relativity kind of threw a wrench in that whole idea.
Oh, how so?
So basically, Einstein said that time isn't absolute. It's actually influenced by things like gravity. Gravity and speed. And the video gives this really cool example because of the massive gravity of the Great Pyramid of Giza.
The pyramids.
Yeah, time actually moves a tiny bit slower there than it does in a place with, less gravity.
Whoa, wait, are you serious? So, if I stood next to a pyramid, my watch would actually run slower?
It's a teeny tiny difference.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't notice it with a regular watch.
Okay, so not like a superpower or anything.
Sadly, no.
But it illustrates this idea, right, that gravity can actually warp time.
Right, it's called gravitational time dilation.
Okay.
Basically, the stronger the gravity, the slower time moves relative to a weaker gravitational field.
Yeah, okay, but what does this have to do with the Quran or Islamic cosmology?
Well, the video uses this whole idea of relative time to shed some light on the Islamic belief in the seven heavens.
Oh, right, the seven heavens.
Yeah, and each heaven is supposed to be massively bigger than the one below it.
Right?
And if gravity can affect time, well, imagine how differently time might flow in those higher realms.
Whoa, that's trippy. So are you saying that because the heavens are so much larger, and I guess they'd have stronger gravitational forces,
Right,
time might move slower there compared to here on Earth?
exactly.
Okay.
And that opens up all these questions about the nature of time in, like a divine realm.
Right.
For instance, the video mentions that a day in the angelic realm is described as being equal to 50,000 years on Earth.
That's a mind-blowing difference.
It is.
It really makes you think about how our perception of time, here on Earth, might be so limited.
Absolutely. Like we're just seeing a tiny slice of the whole picture.
Totally. And then the video throws out this term, throne time,
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
to describe time from, Allah's perspective,
Right.
where each day could be billions of our Earth years.
That's a tough one to wrap your head around.
It is. It really challenges how we think about time.
Like it's not just linear,
Right. It's not just a straight line.
It's something much more complex.
So, with this whole throne time thing, I mean, is it possible that our entire human existence, like all of humanity's history,
Yeah.
could just be like a blip on Allah's radar?
That's one of the big ideas the video puts forward.
Wow.
And if you actually calculate the average human lifespan using this throne timescale, it's incredibly short.
Like, how short are we talking?
About 27 milliseconds.
27 milliseconds.
Yeah.
Wow, that really puts things in perspective.
It does. It makes you think about how we spend our time.
It does. This whole throne time concept is definitely making me rethink my relationship with time.
It's a powerful reminder, that our earthly concerns might seem very different from a cosmic perspective.
Absolutely. And speaking of a cosmic perspective, the video also touches on the sheer size of Allah's throne.
Oh yeah, they describe it as being so massive.
It's described as so vast that the seven heavens are like a tiny ring in a desert compared to it.
It's almost impossible to imagine.
Right. And then the desert itself is just like a little ocean on the throne.
Yeah, these descriptions, even though they're metaphorical, they're really meant to emphasize just how grand creation really is.
Right. It's something that's really hard to grasp with our limited human understanding.
It is.
And then there are the angels who are said to carry the throne.
Oh, yeah, those are incredible.
The video describes them as being so huge that it would take a bird hundreds of years to fly from one of their toes to their shoulder.
That's just crazy.
Right. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It is, but again, these descriptions are really about emphasizing the difference in scale, between us and the divine.
It really drives home that point that our perception is incredibly limited.
Totally. And the video goes on to suggest that the throne's huge mass, and its gravitational pull
Right.
would have a huge effect on time.
So time might move even slower there.
It's possible, yeah.
This all keeps coming back to that throne time idea, right?
It does.
We're really starting to see how relative time might play out on a massive scale.
Right. Not just for angels, but maybe even for all.
Right. The video asks this question. If Allah created time,
Yeah.
is it even possible that he experiences time in a way that, we can't even comprehend?
That's a deep one.
It is, right?
Right.
Like maybe a billion years to us is like a blink of an eye for him.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. And that makes me wonder how this all ties into the day of judgment and the fate of the universe.
So that's where things get even more interesting.
Oh, I bet.
And we'll dive into those questions in the next part of our deep dive.
Can't wait. So we're talking about time being a lot more, fluid than we usually think.
Definitely not your average clock ticking.
Right. And this whole throne time concept really just raises even more questions about, the universe and our little place in it.
Absolutely. And this video really takes that idea of relative time and applies to some wild stuff.
Oh, like what?
Like wormholes.
Wormholes. Okay, now we're talking.
Right. And the possibility of angels, traveling across huge distances.
See, now that's where I get a little skeptical. Are we really suggesting that angels are out there zipping through wormholes?
Well, the video connects it to a verse in the Quran.
Oh, which one?
It's 70.4.
Okay.
And it talks about angels ascending to Allah in a day that's equal to 50,000 years for us.
Right. I remember that.
So it suggests that maybe wormholes, these theoretical tunnels through space-time,
Yeah.
could be how angels travel such crazy distances.
So even angels need a shortcut, huh?
It seems that way. It really shows you how massive creation is.
It does. And, if we think about angels, they're often depicted as doing things that require, super speed.
Totally, like delivering messages or collecting souls.
Yeah, exactly.
So the idea of them using wormholes, it kind of makes sense in a way.
Okay, hold on. Are we saying that interstellar travel might have already happened? Like we're still trying to get to Mars?
Well, the video doesn't say that outright, but it does encourage us to think beyond, what we think is possible.
Keep an open mind. Okay, I'm trying, but if we're talking about angels moving through space and time, doesn't that also connect to the Prophet Muhammad's night journey?
You got it.
Like the whole journey from Mecca to Jerusalem on the Buraq.
Exactly. That story really captures the imagination.
It does, the Buraq, a creature that can travel as far as the eye can see in a single stride.
It's pretty wild. And
Yeah.
the source suggests that maybe we can interpret the Buraq as a vehicle for traveling through, warp space-time.
Oh, okay, so like a cosmic shortcut.
Right, allowing for what seems like instantaneous travel across a huge distance.
So we've got angels maybe zipping through wormholes and the prophet possibly taking a cosmic shortcut.
It's definitely pushing the boundaries of what we think we know.
It is. It's like science fiction meets spirituality.
It does make you question things.
It does, but let's maybe shift gears a bit.
Okay.
The video mentions different types of angels, right? Like Jibril, Mikael, Israfil.
Right, each with their own role.
Yeah, it's interesting how they each have a specific purpose.
Definitely. And I imagine to carry out those tasks, they'd need some serious speed and power.
Oh, for sure. The source mentions Jibril traveling from heaven to earth in a single day.
Which would take us humans, thousands of years.
Talk about a fast commute.
Right. And don't forget, angels are often described as beings of light.
Oh, yeah. Is there a connection there?
There might be. The video talks about the speed of light being the fastest speed we know of.
Yeah, that's true.
And it even suggests that maybe angels are made of some type of light that we haven't even discovered yet.
Whoa! Okay, so light, that's even faster than the speed of light.
It's a possibility, and if that's the case, it means they could move beyond the limitations of speed as we understand it.
So faster than light angels, wormhole travel, and time flowing differently in other realms.
It's a lot to take in.
It is, but I'm curious, what does the video say about the angels who carry Allah's throne?
Ah, those massive beings. Remember those
Oh,
descriptions?
yeah, the ones where a bird would take hundreds of years to fly from their toe to their shoulder.
Exactly. Their heads reach above the highest heaven, and their feet are on the lowest earth.
If they're that big, I can't even imagine the size of the throne.
It's mind-boggling, and it really highlights how limited our human perception is.
It does, and the video goes on to say that the throne's mass and gravitational pull would have a huge impact on time.
Right, potentially making time slow much slower in that realm.
So we're back to throne time.
It all connects, doesn't it? We're seeing how relative time might work on a cosmic scale, not just for angels, but maybe even for Allah.
Exactly, and the video asks this question, if Allah created time itself,
Yeah.
is it possible he experiences time in a way we can't even fathom?
It is a mind-blowing thought.
It is. Like, what if a billion years to us is just a fleeting moment to him?
It makes you reconsider everything.
It does. And now I have to ask, how does all of this tie into the Day of Judgment and the fate of the universe?
Well, that's where things get even more fascinating. We'll dive into those questions in the last part of our deep dive.
All right, so we've gone from the Big Bang to wormholes to this crazy concept of throne time. But I think the big question is, how does this all relate to the Day of Judgment?
It's a big one. And the video offers some pretty interesting thoughts on this foe. Remember, the source proposes that the universe was created in 6 throne days.
Right. Each one potentially spanning billions of years.
Billions, yeah. And if we're thinking we're somewhere near the end of that 6th throne day, well,
That would mean.
the Day of Judgment, symbolized by that 7th day,
Right.
could be closer than we think.
It really puts a new spin on time is running out.
Definitely. And the video connects this idea of the Day of Judgment being, well, closer than we perceive
Yeah.
to those signs that are supposed to come before it.
Like the sun rising from the west.
Exactly. And if we want to ground that in science,
Right.
maybe we're talking about a geomagnetic pole shift.
Which scientists think has happened before, multiple times.
Right. And while we can't predict when it might happen again, the video suggests that it could be what sets off those other major signs of the Day of Judgment.
The ones that are supposed to happen one after another.
Like bees falling off a broken necklace.
So we've got this potential pole shift triggering the Day of Judgment. And from Allah's perspective, using this throne time idea,
Yeah.
it could be happening any minute now. That's a lot to take in.
It is heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But the video emphasizes that this understanding shouldn't make us afraid.
Right.
It's supposed to encourage reflection.
To think about what really matters.
Exactly. If the Day of Judgment is closer than we think, how should we be living our lives? What are our priorities?
It definitely makes you think about those big questions.
It does. And in the end, the video emphasizes this message of hope and mercy.
Oh, that's good.
It reminds us that Allah wants us to succeed in this life and the next.
Right.
That He's given us guidance and that His mercy is always there, even when we mess up.
It's reassuring to remember that, amidst all this vastness and mystery.
Absolutely, that Allah's love and mercy are constant.
They are. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's worth thinking about what we can take away from exploring Islamic cosmology like this.
Definitely. What stands out to you?
For me, it's the importance of perspective. Realizing that how we understand time and space might be very limited.
It's humbling.
It is, and awe-inspiring.
It encourages us to think beyond our own little world, to think about the scale of creation, and to acknowledge that there's so much more out there than we can even imagine.
This deep dive has definitely opened my mind up to some new possibilities and sparked a sense of wonder.
That's what it's all about, challenging our assumptions and exploring different ways of understanding our place in the universe.
So to everyone listening out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep seeking knowledge.
You never know what you might find.
And maybe the next time you look up at the stars, you'll think about not just the vastness of space, but also the mysteries of time.
Until next time, keep diving deep.